but they need to find a way and go out and put a solid exhibition together on the pitch.
David Barry is the referee. He'll do the honors of welcoming professional soccer into Hartford, Connecticut, a stadium that has played host to some major U.S. men's and women's national team matches, including over the course of the last 12 months. The first touch belongs to Hartford. They have waited a long time for this moment. Finally, it's arrived. The crowd on the edge of their seats. The players have said they almost forgot what it felt like to be home. And Max Eaves, the native of Massachusetts, will do the honors. Hartford Athletic are finally home. Rentschler Field, the site of USL Championship action. Hartford and the Charlotte Independents. With Devin Kerr, Mike Watts on hand. These two teams statistically the worst defenses in the Eastern Conference, but neither scoring at a high rate either, which means something has to give, one would imagine.
Unfortunately, both of these teams, they're giving up on average more than 2 goals a game. Charlotte Independents, on the other hand, have found a way to hit the back of the net a bit more frequently than Hartford Athletic, and that's not exactly bragging rights the way the league is going right now. They've shown some solid character and some comeback victories and near misses as well. I have to say that their performance last week on the road at Al Lang versus Tampa Bay Rowdies was a solid result. Anytime you can go on the road in this league and get a point, that's quality, yet alone at the Tampa Bay Rowdies. But even watching the game, it still wasn't the best performance. They gave up a lot of sloppy mistakes, and they made Curtis Anderson bail them out too many a time once again, and that's a story that's been told over and over the past few weeks. That's why they've ended up in the loss column. It's time for them on the offensive side of things to start counterbalancing that.
Andrew Gutman. Gutman again coming in from the Indiana program that has made so many waves over the last few years. At the feet of Frim Taku. Tico for Maria. And Mansali. Sally flicks it ahead. Herrera won't get there. The ageless wonder, 38 years old from Colombia. And at this point, practically a Charlotte native.
He'll have done his work as well on the scouting side of things. Both he and Abdoulaye Mansali on the left side need to immediately understand who they're taking on. Harry Schwartz, this is the guy you and I were talking about, where a massive amount of talent, one of 60 players invited to the MLS Combine coming out of Northeastern. He's actually the only player from the Colonial Athletic Association to do so, goes undrafted, and doesn't get the opportunity initially, and they bring him in, they become a right back. And he played up top at Northeastern, so a huge position change for Harry Schwartz. But a guy who's native of the Northeast will feel right at home with this crowd.
Heavy touch by Dixon, and Johnson into the act. Johnson, Herrera, and pushed upward. Oh, a chance here for Charlotte. Oduro playing it across Mansali. Charlotte jumps in front in the 3rd minute. Abdoulaye Mansali's first goal in USL Championship.
Semdevitt gets caught off here, overexposed in the opening minutes by Marios Lomas against North Carolina FC last week. A similar message being sent here. Ball just played over the top, and everybody kind of falls asleep once again. We talked about moments, and they've been brief at best, unfortunately, for Hartford Athletic. There's a good look at Harry Schwartz trying to track his way back in. Damoduro, unselfish. Could have easily put this in the back of the net, but he sees all the pressure coming from the backside, lays it off, and Mansali finishes so appropriately.
Oduro's first assist, Mansali's first goal of the season. And the 10-year MLS veteran, including for New England, Stevie Nickel, finds himself on the score sheet, and Hartford has to play from behind again. Ball ricochets off of Colin Martin, who arrives on loan from Minnesota these past couple of weeks.
I asked Jimmy Nielsen about that. I said, bring Colin Martin in, obviously a load of talent coming out of Wake Forest. This guy who was a DC homegrown and then made his way through trade rights through Minnesota United. I said, what do you think of his performance? He said, you know what? He looked like a guy who doesn't have a lot of game experience. He's been training quite well, but doesn't necessarily have a full 90 of fitness underneath his belt, and it showed. Got exposed towards the end of the game. A lot of positive movements, but still work to be done.
Harry Swartz to throw, and at the feet of Philip Rasmussen, who's not their first choice center back. That's one of the big stories here with Hartford. Sem David has been up and down, and Rasmussen's playing in the back, which is not typical. Oh, heavy touch. And pushing this back. That's picked up. Was that a back pass? It's apparently not, according to the referee, Barry, but I don't know about that.
To me, I'm all over that one. I'm 100% blowing the whistle in this situation. Joel Johnson had a poor first touch to start it off. Then almost had his pocket picked, laid it back. Curtis Anderson knew there was gray area because he went to pick it up at first, then kept it at his feet and then doubled back around.
Feet of Nicky Downs. DeVitt, who came over from FC Cincinnati. Can Dixon find his way through? Kicked off at Dixon's foot by Tico.
There's the partnership we talked about, though. Long ball in, Max Steeves doing a good job. Hold up play underneath, flicks it on to Dixon. Alex Dixon, so used to the 7 or 11 position outside on the wings, especially under Jimmy Nielsen, but they're trying to find a way to get things going in the offensive third. This was just a second ago. Joel Johnson,
no question,
he
right?
plays this ball right back. Curtis Anderson stutters, then picks it up. You have to wonder how the referee gets this wrong.
Although those are insightful moments here for Hartford. They've had a couple of good attacking movements. It's a good sign for a team that has really had a tough go of this. Last 4 games, they've conceded 15 times and scored just twice. Ahead by Roberts. At the feet of Maria. Maria drops in, native of the Netherlands, and as you mentioned, a Curacao international.
It's their ability to get things going as well. Hartford Athletic, extremely slow to start. You're looking at a team that's only held a lead in this game over the course of their opening 8 matches for 8 minutes.
Herrera back, curling around Mansali. Options percolating, Martinez. Maybe a chance for Johnson to cross, headed away Rasmussen. Gave chase. Gutman. Odoro's making a run forward. Sees from Martinez. Odoro the cut. And the shot is on and curls high and wide from Jorge Herrera.
Once again, Hartford Athletic just playing from behind. Got out early against Louisville City. Now trying to find a way to replicate that. A few glimpses, but defensively scrambling, to say the least. Jorge Herrera doing a good job keeping the back line guessing. He will do that. The only one change for Jim McGinnis, that was bringing Enzo Martinez out and the Colombian in.
Dixon for Dalgard. In on Johnson, curling across, headed down Brown. Came loose for a moment, recovered by 18-year-old Curtis Anderson. A chance to counter the other way. Gutman pushing up the touchline. Herrera inside. It's well done by Swartz. He's going to have his hands full. God bless Swartz. Your first game at outside back.
Good luck.
And you get Andrew Gutman pushing up at you. He's been signed by Celtic.
Signed by Celtic on loan. Won the Mac Herman last year for best collegiate player, coming out of Yeagley system at Indiana. Just coming up a bit short in their 2018 campaign for a national championship. Maryland had something to say about that. They kept it in the Big Ten.
Yeah. I don't know that that provides any.
No.
No, I don't think Indiana cares.
No, they weren't happy, though they were able to secure another Big Ten championship.
Oduro possesses really great pace. It's lost by Alex Martinez. His brother Enzo is on the bench tonight. Enzo, a former MVP finalist in the championship, spent last year in Colorado. How about UConn? Playing at UConn's football stadium for these first 7 games. Ray Reed's side put out, what, 3 or 4 players in these last year or two that playing in the championship right now?
A couple guys in the championship. Took a look at the Open Cup fixtures as well. There's about 10 of them that have made their way into some of the amateur squads looking to do battle in the first round tournament proper. So another program collegiately that is just continuously pushing numbers to the next level.
It's Rasmussen now, a 10-year pro. Finally lassoed by Swartz. Brown. Ball played over the top, maybe a chance. No! It's the opening goal! At Richler Field, Max Steeves! Welcome home, Hartford!
Beautiful ball played in behind the back line of Charlotte Independence. The relationship between Max Steeves and Alex Dixon, so positive last week, funneling over into this game. Though this time around, Steeves is the one who peels off to the back post. And they get caught sleeping. Steven Tico cannot account for the runner. Max Steeves, a guy, such a phenomenal college career coming out of Providence, drafted by the Dynamo, dealt with some injuries last year, and now an opportunity to come to the Northeast, come home, and do some work. Excellent finish inside of 12 minutes.
Steeves played with Julian Gressel over at Providence, the Rookie of the Year for Atlanta United. And so we're level at 1.
Now, if you're Hartford, turn up the pace a bit. You've seen Charlotte Independence exposed. When you start to stretch them just a bit, that's been their MO in their opening matches. Jim McGinnis's boys like to, they call it frustrate other teams. You'll hear that from a lot of managers where they don't necessarily have this overwhelming offensive philosophy, but they make other teams become flustered and make mistakes. We saw that early on for Hartford Athletic. However, defensively, they exposed themselves in transition a lot. Hartford Athletic saw it, took full advantage of it.
Herrera goes to ground, and Brown came away with the ball. Dixon. A lot of English on that. That's the area Dixon actually knows quite well. Jimmy Nielsen called him one of the best wingers in USL when he was at Oklahoma City.
He went a step further and said it's a guy who has really struggled for us because of injuries. We talked about that in the Open. But when he's healthy, he said, even if I can get him to 90%, he is one of the top 5 players in this league that can have the biggest effect on a game, and that's saying something. And no disrespect to anybody else, but Jimmy Nielsen, seen a lot of talent over the years, has a great eye for it, obviously been able to take some of his teams and push them to another level. And to make that comment about Alex Dixon really gives you an idea about what kind of effect he feels he can have on this Hartford Athletic team going forward.
Gutman. There's Maria. Ray Lee to throw.
Need some help defensively. Why not go with Rochester Rhino and Pittsburgh Riverhound study under Bob Lilly and the likes of Raymond Lee. So well for them in combination of 2017, 2018. Obviously Bob Lilly departing the Rochester Rhinos with their year off. Took his talents to Pittsburgh Riverhounds and brought a lot of his squad with him. Nice run last year and just looking to get things going in 2019, much like many other team in the Eastern Conference.
Like seemingly most every team in the league. No one's pulling away at this point. Should make a team like Hartford feel good. It should make a team like Louisville feel good that hasn't gotten off to the start they expected. A team like Phoenix out in the West should feel all right. But right now, Red Bulls and St. Louis and Tampa Bay atop the East. Downs.
It is interesting to take a look at the standings on both conferences and get an idea of exactly where everybody sits and give you an idea. You're 15th in the East, and the likes of a Memphis 901 FC who just absolutely folded down the stretch. We'll talk about that later. Right now, you get a win. You're on 6 points. That pushes you to 9. That doesn't even sniff the playoff line as you actually only move up 1 spot to 14th. If you're in the Western Conference right now, in 15th El Paso, they're at 9 points. They get a win. That can vault them all the way to 5th. So it gives you an idea about how much more closely the Western Conference is stacked up. But a lot of people will tell you they like their eye on the East this year and feel that the stronger teams, as of right now, and the way the teams are playing, that the champion would come out of the East. Still plenty of time to be had in that argument, though.
With conference realignment with the 7 expansion teams, Hartford being one of them. 2 playoff teams from the West jump to the East this year, making it even more complex. Out away from Gutman. Third-minute goal, Abdoulaye Mansali, the former New England Revolution man, native of Gambia. The Gambian able to come up with a in the first 5 minutes that sort of took all the air out of the building. Hartford responded in the 12th. Max Eaves. DeVitt. Lee. Sizing this up. Plays it across for Brown. Skims off of Gutman and out.
Still did a good job to get a touch on it. Andrew Gutman understood he had pressure coming on the backside from Jonathan Brown. Couldn't let it drop, and you either see the defender get a shout to knock it over the end line. Fortunately enough, there's not a trailing one behind Brown. He's able to just flick it off and get a throw in out of it.
Swartz was offside. Fans, Hartford Athletic plays home again Friday, May the 10th. And if you're looking for Mother's Day weekend plans, single game tickets start at just $10. 3-game flex plans, $25. Get your tickets today, hartfordathletic.com. Oh, Hartford's come away with the ball here. Max Steves already a goal in this game. Steves trying to cut through. Ricochets around, avoids all hands. Hartford's starting to look like the aggressor a bit. Oh, nice first touch by Brown. Dixon all the way across the grain.
Better ball movement. Once again, that long ball being employed. Curtis Anderson having a word with his 2 center backs. Raymond Lee sees it. Andrew Gutman caught up in the high line. Great touch in by Jonathan Brown. And a lovely first touch by Alex Dixon, but just can't put the second one on target. That's what you have to do. Continue to build the confidence that you've acquired over the past few minutes. The independents can sit Nice and compact on the ball and then work forward, but again, it's very up and down. So you catch them off guard as they turn the ball over going the other way, and then you push your own numbers.
Johnson off of Lee. Well done to knock it out to Downs. Jimmy Nielsen said he was the best player on the field last game. And Dixon is down. And Gutman apparently clean. Any wrongdoing. The fans finally have something to boo about.
Give it time. Give it time.
We only made it through 20 minutes of this inaugural home game for Hartford Athletic. First-year head coach Jimmy Nielsen leading the way. A lot of local talent. And a Charlotte side that is coming off a tough year but has been a real strong team in the Eastern Conference in years past. Swartz drew the foul from Mensali. Even David Barry needs to make sure his shoes are, gosh, those are long laces.
Now, I never say this, and you know me.
Yeah.
I love them already. Do you know why?
I don't.
The cleats that he's wearing, Umbro Speciales. Started wearing those when I was 9 years old. I still wear them. Not the ones when I was 9.
Yeah, is that what you're wearing right now with your
Little
low-cut
tassels,
socks?
The tassels.
Yeah.
It's funny. I still have my first pair of boots when I won my first state championship. Funny, I didn't keep any from the other championships.
Right.
Just when I was 11.
They don't
Go
even
figure.
fit anymore.
No, they're petrified. I mean, they are rock hard. They're not on the mantle. They're in a box tucked away somewhere, but good memories.
Well, Johnson into the ball. Run by Alex Martinez. Fit stepping forward. Well, it's a late whistle, and it's to stop play for an injury. It's Dominic Odoro down. That Dominic Odoro, not the other one. He played a man with the same name last week with Tampa Bay. They did a jersey swap and everything.
He was fortunate enough to get one of the Tampa Bay Rowdy neon ones, though. We talked about those.
The ones you can see from space.
Well, they're beautiful, and they're very well designed. Unfortunately, you can't see anything.
At this point, we're right in Rob Stone's wheelhouse for what that's worth.
That's right.
A Rowdy and athletic supporter both.
The Rowdies seem to have figured out under Neil Collins, not only at home but on the road. Go figure. It's something they haven't had the opportunity to brag about in quite a few years.
Further by Steeves. Comes down to Brown. Newman does well to cut him off. Brown got the cross away, though. Over Mansali. And Swartz keeps it alive. Signed yesterday out of Northeastern. Hartford switched the point. DeVitt. Lee pushing forward. Dalgard inside of him. By Martinez. Lee. Dixon. Dalgard could cross from here. There's Dalgard arriving. Johnson able to clip it out of play. Corner here for Hartford.
Well done by Alex Dixon to just hit the reset button. Could have tried to turn this back around, but brings it over to his left shoulder and allows the play to develop a bit further. Dalgard tried to slip it around. Joel Johnson. Johnson's seen that before, but still the home squad continues to apply the pressure to the Independents.
Rasmussen swiped away by Anderson. Ball's loose, and Dixon bouncing a ball, karate chopping it off the ground and wide.
Very difficult to even get a boot on this ball. But as he tracks back, cuts it across his body. It comes over the top of the ball. Did well just to put it on frame. Much better look, ball thrown in, and keep an eye. Across his body, turns his hips, Comes over the top of it. Curtis Anderson would have been beat.
Brown chested away, diving effort. Great outcome in terms of getting people out. 68 degrees, overcast. Rain's going to hold off till tonight.
Sign me up.
To play.
Yeah. Sure.
Oh, Anderson, that's a mistake. This hit on the first time. It's going to go flying wide of the post. Dalgard didn't bother dribbling with this, just went for it.
Starting to wind up, isn't he? Getting more involved going forward, Sebastian Dalgard is. Not a bad effort. Sometimes goalkeeper doesn't center himself, get back across, and you just have a chance from distance.
With Jimmy Nielsen and OKC, you would argue they were at their best when Dalgard and Dixon were pumping balls in, and then you had guys like Jose Angulo and Vucic, the guys sort of towering in the box to finish.
Funny, both on the bench tonight.
Yeah.
So still an option for Jimmy Nielsen if he wants to go that direction. I wonder exactly what's going on with Angulo. He scored that otherworldly goal just inside a half field against the Riverhounds a few weeks ago. And unfortunately, hasn't necessarily been in the same form since then. They could truly use him up top.
He's been dealing with a handful of knocks over the course of the year. Long run for Lee. Alex Martinez. That's going to stay in play, and it's knocked over to DeVitt. Maria. Well, there's the whistle. It's Herrera into the sliding challenge.
Doesn't seem to be slowing down, does he, Jorge Herrera? Was quite concerned a few weeks ago that maybe had lost his opportunity under Jim McGinnis to get a chance to play here on a regular basis. He's been in and out of the starting 11, to be fair, but still finding a way to get involved in the run of play. That's something important. They have to keep him involved. He's so good in hold-up play. A tactician with the ball at his feet for sure, but set pieces, corners, always involved.
Uh-oh, trouble here. Anderson curl over and get it. That's an unforced error from Charlotte. And you think about why that's so significant, that Herrera's 38, maybe doesn't have the pace or the ability to go 90 at that pace the way they used to. Jim McGinnis is not like how things were last year. They want to press higher. They want to be more vertical, and that doesn't necessarily fit either Jorge Herrera or Enzo Martinez quite as well, but they think it's a better system for the long run.
I took it a step further. Unfortunately, they picked up an injury a few weeks ago in Nicky Jackson.
Herrera. Oduro, that's a long run. Over everybody.
But I was just having a bit of fun toying with the formations, and look, you can call it whatever you want formationally. Call it a 4-1-4-1, call it a 4-2-3-1, call it a 4-3-3. It truly doesn't matter, to be honest, because the idea is that they want to play that disruptive style up top, make the other team make mistakes with that press. The press has become less frequent over the past few games. So you have to wonder, number one, is that a fitness issue? Or is Jim McGinnis now questioning, okay, can we make this work on a regular basis? Maybe we tailor our options back just a bit and then try and counter here and there. Whatever it is, messing around with the formation, he can get all of these guys on the pitch at one point in time. If Nicky Jackson is healthy, you can get him, Dom Oduro, Enzo Martinez, and Jorge Herrera in there. Those are four massive names in the footballing world that could 100% start in this 11 on a regular basis.
Maria. Covered by Brown. Steeves, Brown now. Knocking it over the top, Dixon, and it's caught by Anderson. Quite aggressive coming out to claim it. Anderson just saying this week, each game's getting a little easier. More I'm playing. He says a laid-back person to begin with, and it's just become easier for a guy who's come over from Manchester City's youth system. Herrera battling here. Go back to DeVitt. Hartford Athletic would like to extend a special thank you to our title partner, Trinity Health of New England. And those founding partners, founding fans, founding players. Inaugural home match tonight. Long time coming. Martin. There's Brown. Brown again, a Cardiff City youth. Tough day for Cardiff. Sprayed onto the wing. Lee facing up, Johnson swerving across, punched away. Brown chests it down, the shot. And Dalgard whipping into it. It'll deflect out. Corner coming. Anderson has proven really aggressive coming off his line.
He's saved them a few times in the past, and you have to be careful as a goalkeeper when you're doing this. This all started from great ball movement by Colin Martin and Nicky Downs on the near touchline. As it made its way around, Raymond Lee once again with service in. Lovely chest off Jonathan Brown, laying the ball off. There's a limp by Max Eaves. Not a look that you want to see if you're Jimmy Nielsen. He's done well in the opening 30 minutes.
Rasmussen. Anderson didn't get anything on that. Kept alive Steves and hit on the first time. Dixon skies this up. Ball is popped away by Anderson, and now he recovers. It's an adventure right now with this young man.
Alex Dixon pulled the trigger earlier on the left foot, this time with the right, and wasn't his best effort, and that's putting it politely. Just got caught up underneath it. Sometimes as a goalkeeper, better to just push it over the bar and live to another day. But that's kind of the glimpses Curtis Anderson will give you, where he will make these ridiculous saves, but also he keeps you on the edge of his seat.
Ricochet off of Herrera and slices the ball through. Mansali was making a run. Play will come all the way back. Ejections from Taku. Hartford trying to stymie this Charlotte side that jumped on the board in the 3rd minute. Hartford responding in the 12th. Independence this year, just 1 point to show for their 3 road games and only 1 win in their first 8. Dalgard. Downs. DeVitt. Away by Hugh Roberts. Steves. Run into space. Mansali. Ahead for Hartford. They've got a couple home games coming up, which always helps. And Devin, what's more, the next 4 games are against teams in the bottom 8. And the way the East is sort of built right now, a lot of top heaviness to it at times. See the top 5 pulling away, and then all of a sudden a team like Hartford could still recover from what has been a catastrophic opening salvo, especially with all these home games.
You have to remember as well, 10 get in this year. The final 2 get a play-in game, and then they go to the top 8. So not necessarily that cutoff line that we've seen in the past. And you're spot on, Mike. Charlotte Independence night, and then on Friday, just a few short days away, they'll take in Memphis 901 FC, who seems to probably get better results on the road, though their performances at home are better than to Loudoun. And then May 25th, Ottawa Fury come to town. So a great opportunity to gain a few points over the course of 4 games. They should find a way. They got to get at least 6. You got to get at least 6 out of those 4 games to continue to stay in the thought process of the playoffs.
Taku, nothing doing there. Hartford Athletic would like to recognize the Hartford and all of its founding partners the 2019 season.
Guarantee there's some people at home going, why is he already talking about the playoffs? Well, when you're 12 matches in,
yeah, we're getting there, aren't we?
You're getting there, and
attack is on here for Hartford. Effort ricochets off of Roberts. There's an appeal for a handball. Dalgard with a long horizontal run. It's turned over to Dixon. Numbers in the box. The cross is cleared by Roberts again.
How about Max Steeves on the near side? Just appealing for VAR. Wrong league, bud. Not happening yet at this level. Sorry, brother.
You make the signal?
It was more rectangular than square, but close enough.
I hope your TV's a rectangle.
Go.
You tell me next. It's black and white?
Come on, man. You know I'm married.
Oh, a lot of holding here by Joel Johnson. Finally the whistle. And Dalgard gesturing back. He's looking for a card.
He's also wondering the placement on this as well. Referee came back about 6 yards. If you watch where this finishes off, just continuing forward, there's the foul. But he lets it come all the way there, and he brings it 6 yards back. Explain that to me. So the second time tonight, our referee just not having full understanding of what's going on in the run of play in front of him.
You're making new friends.
Shocking. It's dealing with the referee again.
See what Hartford can come up with here. This is an interesting position on the field. Rasmussen. Ball ricochets around. Karam's out. Got away from Oduro. Hey fans, it's never too early to start voting. The Cigna Man of the Match. Use hashtag Cigna MOTM on Twitter throughout and cast your vote. Max Steeves is certainly going to get plenty of consideration, but a lot of game to go. Brown for Dixon, who's taken a license to travel anywhere on the field that he pleases at present. Swartz. That deflects on the way in. And Herrera further, and Hartford just continues to apply some pressure here. Elsewhere, Nashville has a 2-0 lead over Atlanta United 2 at 12 minutes in. So if they're going to run away with a 3-point performance. Oduro, that'll drag Martinez further than he wanted. Lee, a bit of hand fighting. Martinez pushed out. And down goes Dalgard. Kel Maria shown yellow.
Raymond Lee on the left side has figured out how to cut in, make the Independents second guess. This time, Dalgard tracking back, doing the same, albeit on the defensive side of things. It's not the worst of challenges by Maria, to be fair. Still a foul nonetheless, and Hartford Athletic, just 5 minutes to go here in the first half. Really has been an interesting game after the 2 goals. Things coming in waves, aren't they? A few half chances here and there for the home squad. Charlotte Independents have all but disappeared offensively.
Mansali. Maria, the yellow, is second of the season in 3 appearances. Gutman charging in off the wing, playing it across with Herrera in mind. Mansali pushing forward. Maria, the cross. It's a good one, but it's caught by Jacob Lissick, who's had a really quiet evening to this point.
It's a guy who lost his shirt last week to Due and really thought with the words that Jimmy Nielsen gave us, Due would get the opportunity to come back in, get another job, earn the sweater, but that's not the case. Jacob Lissick getting battered in training. He said that, he's just really struggled in the 5 matches that he did play for Hartford. Another area of concern for Jimmy Nielsen, and if he knows anything, it's 100% going to be the goalkeeping position. Obviously, such a storied career, finishing off for Sporting KC, and then immediately going to the coaching ranks. Just still struggling back there in between the pipes to find someone who can step up. He's hoping Lissick can be the one in this match. Done well so far.
And let's say this, you and Mike Jeffries and I have shared a lot of fun conversations over the years. The former head coach there, now the general manager, can say the same for Jimmy Nielsen over the years. He is an open book. Just a genuinely fun guy to talk to. Brown was splaying to ground.
Really thought I was getting set up this week. He said, "What have you seen?"
Yeah.
I said, "Well, coach, just give it to me. Be honest."
Be honest.
And
yeah.
I was honest, and we got done. He said, "I agree with everything you said," and it doesn't matter what came out of my mouth, but Jimmy agreed, and he said, "Listen, again, we got to work harder, and we got to find a way to produce, and that just hasn't been the case so far." Positive note, good response. You let the early goal in, and immediately they got right back to work, didn't put their heads down. Would have been so simple to do. Again, it hasn't been that great over the course of the 8 matches, and to give up the early goal and to immediately come back shows great character.
Rasmussen. Caroming to ground. Gutman will move a little further back. It is with Athletic here. 8-game road trip to start the year, a USL championship record. Home for the first time tonight. Hartford fell behind in the opening 5 minutes, responded inside a quarter hour. Maduro speeding into the attack, finding Martinez. Johnson driving up the right-hand side. Martinez opens the space, plays it across, didn't find Maria. That passing lane was wide open, and Swartz, the converted outside back, closed it down. And then Brown draws the foul.
Maria is furious by the referee's decision here. Felt he did well enough to win the ball back. Nicky Downs got unfortunate because he read the play right, and as he stepped back, won the tackle. Unfortunately, the space wasn't occupied by anybody from Hartford Athletic. How about Alex Martinez trying to pick out the trailing runs of Mikel Maria on the back post. Had Damoduro crashing to the near 6 as well. Well done by Hartford to close it down.
Martin off of Dalgard. Lee. Johnson, Dalgard chasing. comedy of errors there. Back to Hartford.
There's a good look tactically at what the Independents are trying to do. Just find spaces to occupy, so when the opportune moment presents itself, they can step up, apply a bit of pressure, and then go the other direction, cause one of those untimely turnovers Jim McGinnis likes to talk about. And the buzzword is kind of frustrate. That's what he likes to say. I like to frustrate the opponent, make them second guess, make them make mistakes. Hasn't necessarily been the case here in the first half.
One added minute, and we'll get to halftime. Coming up at halftime, highlights, stats. We'll take a look around some of the big news in the championship. What Kevon Frater did for New Mexico last week. And New Mexico play tomorrow, correct? On
San Antonio.
ESPN Plus. That one's going to be fun.
Yeah. Coming to town. Nice little Sunday evening game. I guess that would be considered evening, 5:30. Right? I mean,
5:05 local time on Cinco de Mayo.
I'm not good at numbers, you know that. Yeah. Help me out here.
Got out to touch. Final seconds of this first half. Goodman. And we'll go off to the locker room. What did you make of the first 45?
Choppy from both squads. Not the best performance. However, it is 1-1, so that's good. Neither one up nor down. Great response from the home squad. For Hartford Athletic, keep an eye on the balance. 48% of their attack is running through the near wing and Jonathan Brown. Sebastian Dalgard only sitting on about 21% on the left, so find a way to balance both sides of the field, keep the Independents guessing.
Well, it's 1 goal apiece. Hartford falls behind in their home opener. The 3rd minute, Max Eaves. A goal in the 12th. We'll come back, highlights, stats, and a look around the championship when we return.
This has always been a soccer city. And now, we have our club.
Where some see a barber, I see a magician. I see Hugo, of Hair by Hugo. Wizard of whiskers. Sorcerer of scissors. Houdini of hair. Hugo is a small business owner. Me, I'm the Hartford Buck, and I see nothing small in small business.
The Hartford Small Business Insurance. The Buck's got your back.
Welcome back to Hartford, Connecticut. Athletic and Independence, 1 goal apiece with Devin Kerr, Mike Watson. USL League Two is set to open up a new season next weekend. They've got the U.S. Open Cup matches beginning this week, some facing off against one another, others taking on USL League One sides. No better way to get ready for the League Two season than to take a look at what's ahead. We'll show you the very best goals from the week that was in the championship. Take a look.
Now Morton's coming up, it's headed and in.
Nodded back in, Sandoval is there, so is Hamilton, loose in front, it's Freighter! What a hit! New Mexico equalizes in the dying moments, it's a hat-trick for Freighter! Unbelievable at the lab!
Juan Pablo Capa with a direct free kick. Chips it. A goal! The equalizer for the captain. Lomas in. Lomas! And how about North Carolina FC? Lomas with his 6th goal of the season.
Back to the goal scorer. Barnby will try again. And another. That is absolutely world class. That is much harder than it looks to do.
Didi Traore, oh my goodness, what a run. Didi Traore crosses, Didi Traore! It is a work of magnificence.
Take that bag off your head. What are you doing? Popcorn, get it off. It's 1-1 Hartford and Charlotte. Let's take a look around the championship with Devin Kerr. Mike Watts with you. As this two teams below the playoff line at present. Here are the news and notes from around the championship. You saw the goal, Kayvon Freighter. Woo! A hat trick and an expansion side with a star on their hands.
It was funny with New Mexico United. They were the ones who continuously gave up leads and then let other teams back in, and they did it in this game as well, but did a good job, showed a bit of resolve on their end of things offensively to come back in, tied up versus T2. Indy 11 just continuing to make their own progress on their stadium. And Loudoun United, what a game that was last night, just toe-to-toe with Bethlehem Steel. Two teams going at each other. It was super fun to see Richie Williams in action. Great guy, and nice to see what's going on down there in the D.C. area.
Yep, that was played at Audi Field. Hartford is opening up here before Dillon Stadium opens in July. Meanwhile, plenty of games going on ESPN Plus over the course of this weekend. You mentioned that 3-3 draw. Loudoun and Bethlehem Steel on Friday at full time, and some really good games tonight, including a Western Conference Final rematch.
Orange County, Phoenix. Phoenix on the road once again, and it'll be interesting to see exactly what goes on there. Chatting with both managers, how they feel. No love lost. However, they both said that they put it out of their mind and put it the furthest thing from it. They don't want it to be in their thought of their process. Preparing for the game? Yeah, right. You better believe that heated rivalry. Remember, Phoenix, it's actually their biggest opponent over the course of their entire campaign. They played them more than any other team. Let's take a look at what's going on right now. Nashville and United not doing themselves any favor. Had an own goal just 10 minutes into the match. Outside back launched it into the back of his net from about 30 yards out. That's a fun match to keep an eye on, though. Indy 11, North Carolina FC. I like what Dave Sarek and boys have been able to do at home. Now you got to go on the road to the high-powered offense of Indy 11 and Lucas Oil. Can you get a result?
Dev, you and I will be watching the game at First Tennessee Park when Nashville takes on Tampa Bay in the USL Championship ESPN Game of the Week. Nashville and still undefeated Tampa Bay Rowdies. That's 8 p.m. on Wednesday night on ESPN2.
Rowdies have been quite impressive this year, and it's very, very different in a multitude of ways. You can see the formation is changing. Age has taken a drastic drop. They were averaging right around the 30-year age mark in the starting 11, and now you're down to around 21, 22. Higher press, higher pace. Neil Collins has really done well for his squad, and some fun new faces as well.
So those are the games ahead. We've got another 45 minutes ahead of us here. It is Hartford and Charlotte, 1 goal apiece. Highlights from the first half right around the bend.
This has always been a soccer city. And now, we have our club.
Where some see a barber, I see a magician. I see Hugo, of Hair by Hugo. Wizard of whiskers. Sorcerer of scissors. Houdini of hair. Hugo is a small business owner. Me, I'm the Hartford Buck, and I see nothing small in small business.
The Hartford Small Business Insurance. The Bucks got your back.
Nick, we need a decision. These days, we all feel a little anxious sometimes. But if you could see inside my mind, you'd find I go to my happy place. See, if we let tensions run the show up here, then our bodies won't perform at their best out here.
Wait, are we going to the sound check?
Priorities. So I'm partnering with Cigna to remind you that how you're doing emotionally affects you physically. Go for your annual checkup and be open with your doctor about anything you're feeling, physically and emotionally. Body and mind. Cigna, together all the way.
Welcome back. Grab an adult beverage and enjoy the halftime. 1-1 Hartford and Charlotte. Second half kickoff is moments away with Devin Kerr, Mike Watts. Let's take a look at first half highlights. And the first highlight comes 3 minutes in. Charlotte Independence on the board. And, well, this could have put a real damper on a Hartford side that's given up 15 goals in the last 4 games. They would respond, but a great start for the Independents.
Didn't do well playing out of the back, and just a good job by Damo Dura to be fair. Just pushed into the final third. Good job in transition. Went with pace, and everybody, including myself, thought that he was going to hit this. Semdovic gets all turned around, doesn't know what to do. Actually involved giving the ball away, and just a good job progressing, getting the goal. They continue to apply the pressure, and it became choppy, to be honest, in the game until it opened up here on the back line. I said if they're going to be able to get something going, Hartford, I felt like they needed to find a way to stretch the outside backs and the back line in general. They were able to do so. Max Steeves, Alec Dixon, once again stretching the 2 center backs. They pull inside on Alex Dixon. Max Steeves goes around to the back post. Good finish.
Cheekily in the 12th minute, 1-1. And then we saw Hartford get a probably the lion's share of the chances after that.
They were on the front foot for every bit of 10 minutes or so. Curtis Anderson showing you that, look, I can be great. I can also be questionable. You're wondering the goalkeeper coming that far off his line. However, having that sort of confidence can bode well down the stretch. This is the half a chance, and that's pretty much all you saw for the rest of the match from both teams. One coming from Dalgard. This one once again coming off of Jonathan Brown laying it off, and Max Steeves with a limp coming off. Look at the torn sock on his left calf, and, you know, again, just chippy. That's kind of how the first 45 minutes went after you finish the opening 2 goals from Mansali as well as Max Steeves. You better believe both managers were going at halftime. Beautiful weather, excellent crowd, and they'd love to put on a performance for the home team come second 45 minutes.
Well, in total, two teams that combined for over 500 passes, and it's about evenly split as we get 10 total shots, split 7-3 in favor of Hartford. Plenty of action upcoming in the USL Championship. Dev, here's what's upcoming for Hartford. And you mentioned it earlier. You think about this 4-game stretch. If you want dream of the playoffs, you probably want 6 points or better out of this match and the next 3.
You have to, because then when you turn the corner after that, even though you have some home games, got to play St. Louis, Nashville, Birmingham Legion, jury's still out on them, and then Bethlehem Steel. So a lot of playoff teams from the past that are coming in to the schedule. Loudoun, Ottawa, Memphis, great opportunity, but again, Jimmy Nielsen still has plenty of work to be done here in the second half. They've provided themselves a good base to do so, haven't had a lot of opportunity in recent weeks, so to be within striking distance bodes well for them.
Meanwhile, Charlotte Independence returned to Matthews to take on Loudoun United, local-ish kind of derby. North Carolina taking on the side from Virginia, and then they're away to Nashville, away to Pittsburgh, away to Ottawa, away to Swope Park Rangers, the kind of run on the road that could tank your season if you don't perform to some extent when you only have 1 win through 8.
Well, they only have 1 home game out of their next 6 matches, and after that, they're away from Matthews for 34 days. That does something to you, a player, mentally. So got to find a way to get points on the road. What a good opportunity that they have right in front of them right now against Hartford Athletic.
Hartford spent nearly 2 months on the road, and they're home now. Devin, a goal in the first half, a nice goal by Max Eaves, a nice chippy lob in a ball played over the top to him. And all right, now there's something to cheer for, and that's something that whether it's Rasmussen or Dixon, that was the story all week. We want to give these home fans that haven't seen pro soccer in this state something to cheer for. They did that, now you got to bring it home.
Got to follow it up.
Yep.
Again, we've seen them show us similar glimpses early on this season, especially the opening 4 matches. We mentioned that, but you're looking at a team, as we said early on in the broadcast, have only held a lead for 8 minutes. That was against Louisville City all the way back on March 23rd. When you're constantly trying to find ways to come back, that can be very mentally defeating, and it does something against the morale for the team. And Jimmy Nielsen telling us that they're not missing in that area whatsoever. Everybody believes in this process. They believe in the roster that they put together. Now is an opportunity to go out and show us exactly what you've been working on so hard in training. He said that the results have to come on the weekend. Why not now? Why not the second half at home against the Charlotte Independence?
And a comment that I really felt stood out talking to Jimmy Nielsen a month ago was in the Eastern Conference, it's different than the West. It's a knockdown drag-out. If you're not ready in the first 10 minutes, teams can run you over. But if you're at 60 or 70 minutes, then things open up, and then you have a chance to go win a game. And right now, Hartford feels they have a chance to go win a game. And the Charlotte Independence side with a ton of enticing talent could go on the road, find a point or better. Both would feel this would significantly buoy what has been a difficult and at times very frustrating start to 2019. Underway in the second half from Rentschler Field in Hartford. Charlotte in the white and blue, left to right on your screen. Hartford right to left. Curtis Anderson knocks it ahead. I think this is more touches than Anderson had the entire first half. And Steve's closing him down. That's dangerous. It gets just under the foot of the attacking Hartford player. Dixon lines it up. Big rebound off of Johnson's head. Corner coming, and look, there are times where Curtis Anderson's a fun watch, but he's had a couple of mind-melting mistakes.
With this system, you have to be good with the ball at your feet. Dixon, unfortunate that he didn't pick the pocket of Curtis Anderson just before. Tries again from distance, and he said, look, my bad, my apologies, brethren, I'll get it right next time. That was to something that Jim McGinnis said to us. He's so good with the ball at his feet, but got to release it a bit earlier than that, brother.
It'll be Rasmussen. Ton of traffic near the goal line. Rasmussen, ball comes free. Anderson off his line, and Charlotte will clear that first line. Get out to Oduro.
Look who's tracking back defensively to help out. Alex Dixon, well done. Understanding that the numbers were there for the Independents to counterattack. The forward just tracking back to help his boys out on the defensive side of things. We've seen him apply the pressure, but this time eliminating the threat on the far side.
Good step by Lee to take it away from Herrera. Launched into space. Anderson moves his penalty area and snaps this up. The feeling from Hartford after that game against North Carolina, and look, things were different. They were down 2 at the half, and then they gave up a goal 2 minutes out of halftime against North Carolina's Dave Sarakin's men. Simply too much for Hartford to handle. As Charlotte pushing forward and into the final third. Lifted away from Gutman. Everyone was looking as if that had gone off his bicep on the Hartford side. It is a throw coming, but it felt like Hartford was chasing too much, doing too much running in the second half of the last game. They have to avoid that now.
Jimmy said that when I asked about the performances, especially the guys in the middle of the field, the likes of Colin Martin, Nicky Downs, Rasmussen. Where did they struggle the most?
Slipped ahead Martinez. Comes to Maria. Johnson. Duro for Herrera.
Jimmy just said that we had to work way too hard to get the ball back, and sometimes that's what happens is you work so much off the ball that when you finally regain it, it is easier to maintain possession with the ball, and you have to work less, but it's mentally defeating when you're chasing and chasing and chasing. So when they did win it back, they would immediately turn it back over, give it to North Carolina FC, and you don't want to give opportunities unnecessarily to the likes of Austin Deleuze or Mario Slomas. They just ate it up. So he said we need to be more efficient on the ball, and that's easy to say, but you can go through spells in a game. We don't have to have the ball the entire time. That goes back to the ability to kind of impose your will on the game, and what are you going to do with your possession? You don't necessarily have to hold 55, 60, 65%. You can hover at a 30, 35% mark as long as you're actually moving the ball in the manner in which you'd like to. Unfortunately for Nielsen's boys, they haven't been able to do that regularly.
Herrera pushing in first on DeVitt, then on Lissick. Lee. He's going to get out, and he not played it. Minutes gone in the second half. Hartford looking for their first point. They're in position for it now with 40 minutes plus to go. Oduro bypasses Mansali. Gutman. Mansali, Oduro, Gutman again. Off of Brown. Corner Charlotte 51st.
Both teams, once again, still trying to find a way to be a bit more crisp in their movements. Don't mind the idea from Gutman to get around. Well done by Dom Oduro. Shows you his veteran experience and hold-up play, allowing his boys to come up and help him. Nice triangular movements by himself, Mansali, and Andrew Gutman on that far side.
Herrera. Bounce out to Johnson. Johnson again. Iberian international, who was called up in the most recent international window. DeVitt. Gutman skitters through the legs. Downs. Come over to Maria. again. Charlotte with their longest spell of possession in recent memory. Heel effort by Herrera gets cut out. Listen to Jimmy Nielsen talk about his days at Sporting Kansas City. When he got there in 2011, it was an 11-game road swing to start that season while Children's Mercy Park was being finished. He was eventually sent off on that new field in the first game at that new venue. Oduro looking to slice that back, and the lane down again by Harry Swartz. Corner coming for Charlotte, but he said, hey, we not only finished in the playoffs, we were top of the West. So there is some precedent for all that's happened to this stage.
But going into the game versus North Carolina FC, had the opportunity to talk to Alex Dixon, and I said, what's morale like? What do you feel? And he said, I've been injured, this, that, and the other. However, we've been bad. Mark my words, we will be in the playoffs. He said, we are going to get better. We will be in there. He said, we'll be in the top 8. So he thinks not only will they be in the playoffs, they won't have to worry about a play-in game either. Good to have confidence from Alex Dixon.
Herrera headed back into the mixer by Rasmussen. Came out to Maria. Herrera, bag of tricks. Those are some big words. Yeah, you get the feeling from a lot of these players that they think they can turn this thing around.
Well, I'll tell you, as a manager, that's important. You go 0-8 to start the season, you're looking at 25% of your season out the window. However, you and I saw it last year under Steve Cook. Yeah. Oklahoma City Energy had won through their first 9. And they didn't make the playoffs, but they were just there at the end. They were very close. And they made a similar run under Jimmy Nielsen in 2017 where they stumbled out the gate. They were able to squeak their way in. How'd that turn out? Made their way all the way to the Western Conference Final. If it wasn't for that ridiculous marathon of penalty kicks, they might have been taken on Louisville City.
Was it Adrian Zendejas that took the last one for Swope Park Rangers that year?
Zendejas and Cochran. Cochran from OKC.
Zendejas telling me later that he ran into the stands. We were asking why he did that. He said he didn't want to be tackled. He was afraid to be dogpiled.
He went all 11 rounds, which is unheard of at this level.
Unreal. Oduro. Nice overlap opening up. This has been a really fine performance by Swartz, all things considered. He has never played outside back. He officially signed on Friday out of that outstanding Boston Bolts Academy.
Still can't believe out of everything that he went through collegiately, he didn't get drafted. But a great opportunity presents itself for him here in the Northeast. For Jimmy Nielsen, what a great way to continue your career under the tutelage of the White Puma.
Herrera. Header is wide. Hugh Roberts.
Should have done better there. He immediately grabbed his head and knew he was off. As Jacob Lissick just stood on his line, didn't challenge at all. Stark difference than what we've seen on the other side of the field in Curtis Anderson, who seems to come and pressure every single ball, whether it be 2 or 3 yards off the line or the top of his 18. Better believe Jim McGinnis is going to have a few words for him after this match.
I'm just talking with Jimmy Nielsen this week about the fact that, and it was in relation to Frederick Douay, who ended up getting benched. But when you're a little rusty, decision-making's tough. When do you come off your line? And right now we're seeing 2 very different approaches to it. The header by Brown had come after the ball had already gotten out of play as it smacks off the flag. Maria. That's a really well-played switch. Ball throw Doro. That's well done by Martin. Recovered immediately by Tico. Lee pumps it forward. Charlotte there to control again. Hey fans, Hartford Athletic plays home again Friday, May the 10th. And if you're looking for Mother's Day weekend plans, single game tickets start at just $10 with 3-game flex plans starting at $25. Get your tickets today, hartfordathletic.com. Johnson, clever to open up space. Martinez over Herrera. Well, Hartford's got to dig in right now and find a way to possess the ball for a moment because Charlotte is surely closing in.
Excellent composure by Jonathan Brown, however, as he didn't get the shout from behind him, was able to still bring it down. Quick turn, knock it over so that his team could regroup. And they are definitely on the backside of things right now, trying to find a way to regain some possession. The Independents seem to have their way.
Maria settles Martinez. Hacking down Lee. Maria. Herrera. Didn't have Johnson instead. Martinez. Steeves, can he hold up play? There's an appeal for a whistle that goes unheard. Spin by Taku. Odoro. Mansali. Maria has a go, and he lets himself down with the end product. The youth out of PSV, now 24, Curacao International.
It's a guy who just kind of fell out of favor overseas. PFC, FC 20, everything all coming across the pond, but a good chance for him to get regular minutes here and kind of resurrect his career. That's what Jim McGinnis said, that such talent, but when you see these players in the big clubs that they're coming from, a lot of times they're just not getting regular reps, especially in game mode. It's a lot of training sessions and can be very demoralizing. Doesn't necessarily give a player a lot of confidence in his career. It's a good chance for Maria to continue to progress on. Remember, only 24 years of age for the Curacao native.
Crowds picked up new life in the 61st minute. As the wave parades around, Hartford into the penalty area, ball across, gets away from Steeves. Dalgard bit beside himself, thought that was going to come free for him.
Great job by Hugh Roberts. Dalgard sitting on the back post, just waiting for that to drop on his doorstep. The fans really getting into it. A nice run of play from Hartford Athletic. Would love to continue the progression here.
Oh, excellent ball. Anderson retreats. Ball for Steeves! Jonathan Brown putting it up on a tee, and maybe it got too far in on Steeves. Maybe he just had a little too much juice.
Actually quite surprised at how quickly the Independents closed the space down. Roberts checking in. Now, Steeves is still available, but it was a good job by Tico tracking back. You even see Andrew Gutman, who allowed the first pass to be played into the channel, tracking back in. Joel Johnson as well. So good recovery by the Independents. And unfortunately, Athletic could not finish it off.
62nd minute. One wonders if Hartford's going to need to start working with their bench a bit. Jonathan Brown remains down. This is injury to insult then, isn't it? Cardiff City Youth mentioned that earlier. They lost to Crystal Palace and look like they're aimed for relegation in the Premier League.
Just hoping Monday night. A little bit of movement.
Stop.
From
please.
Leicester. Come on, title hope still alive.
You and I were talking with Gary Bailey, the longtime Manchester United keeper today, and no love lost between you guys.
Oh. That's respect.
It's not. I
No.
don't know that it.
No, we respect each other. We just hate each other.
Right. Yeah.
We respectfully hate each other. It's good to see Jonathan Brown up and moving, kind of wincing on that lower back area. See the trainer escorting him off, as is the head referee. It's one of my favorite things to do. I know I got to get off the field. Just you go do your job, I'll do mine.
Change coming, and that's Jose Angulo, man who has provided time and time again big goals for Jimmy Nielsen over the years. It's Steve's number on the board, and one wonders what the progression is for Jonathan Brown now that he's been walked off. Steve's first goal at home for Hartford. And he had a wondrous moment there a moment ago to double it.
Good shout from the home fans for Jose Angulo. You heard his name before? Well, it's been because we've been calling it for 14 years. Obviously, I haven't. However, broadcasters aplenty have. Kid came pro out of high school, went directly to New England Revolution, and he spent time all over, most recently under Jimmy Nielsen in Oklahoma City. Even stayed with Steve Cook last year, wasn't re-signed. Given new life here in the Northeast.
Things had not worked out in Pittsburgh at all for Jose Angulo, and there was a feeling after that was his second time there that it'd be a win-win for everybody. Bring him to Oklahoma City. Jimmy Nielsen thought he had that goal-scoring acumen that you just can't teach, and he's a big believer. If you don't have a guy who could score double-digit goals, you're not going to make it very far. You need somebody that'll score big goals and score them often. I think Angulo is that guy.
We hope so. And right now, to be honest, he's just looking for someone to score their second goal.
Yeah.
I mean, guys aren't necessarily stepping up and really showing him what they're made of offensively. They found the back of the net 5 times, and every single one of them has been a different goal scorer.
Dixon wins a throw. Angulo, 48 career USL Championship goals for what it's worth. Lee. Martinez. Game of hacky sack continues. Lee. Downs. Martin. Hartford Athletic is proud to welcome Stanley Black & Decker as a founding partner. Stay tuned each week. The Stanley Innovative Play of the Game at the conclusion of the contest.
Good look just a second ago how all 4 players from the Charlotte Independents had actually tucked into their own half. And Taku steps back in. Joel Johnson finally gets a high line. And Hartford Athletic not willing to be sucked out of their comfort zone. They just allow them to play side to side. It's not the worst look from your team sometimes. Laterally is not necessarily the look anyone wants to deal with. It's horizontally that can really cause problems. And right now, The Independents have just resided themselves to go back and forth.
Goodman muscled off the ball by Dixon. Angulo truly a true number 9. Sits up front. So you would imagine Dixon will roam around. Angulo at times can tuck back, play a false 9 or even a creative midfielder.
What's nice to see is him working defensively. That's not a look you always saw from him in the past, being that out-and-out number 9 point man up top by himself. You can see he's more than willing to tuck alongside Alex Dixon and see if they can close down these angles and passing lanes for Charlotte Independence. Something new he's going to probably have to be a bit more conscious of in their defensive efforts, especially because they haven't been that great in their opening 8 matches.
DeVitt, nice change of direction. Dixon drew the contact. Launched along. Dalgard sliding out to that. If he hits that right, we're talking spectacular goal of the year level stuff.
Thought he caught it. Got his ball tracking it over his right shoulder. Extremely difficult to do. Did get a touch on it. Unfortunately caught the outside of his foot. Still promising that Hartford Athletic are willing to go long and direct at times. Again, that seems to be where they found most of their success in the first half.
Hartford fans, be sure to vote for your Cigna Man of the Match on Twitter. Use hashtag Cigna MOTM. Dalgard chesting it forward to himself. Dalgard lashing that out of play. The offside flag had been raised. Took a little while in the second half, but Hartford starting to look and like a team playing more attacking football.
Good to see him come into the picture a bit more as well. Going off air in the first 45, we said that the balance has to be there for Jimmy Nielsen's squad. So much of the run of play coming through Jonathan Brown on the right. And then even though Dalgard had their glimpses, a lot of long balls being played from the left, you have to find a way to make sure that structurally you make sure the Charlotte Independents keep them honest. And what they'll do is they'll just become lopsided in their defensive efforts and shift to one side, and that can cause a counterbalance for you, but when you don't exploit it on a regular basis, you're just getting a bit lethargic in your efforts to play on both sides of the field.
There's the cutback. And well defended on the overlap. So Doro tried to slip it back. Up by Martin. Johnson. Takes the return. And Lee took it away only for a moment. Taku. Oh, deflection. And Swartz perhaps showing a hint of inexperience. He and Lissick keep that line of communication open.
Expect better from the back line, and the goalkeeper got to give him a shout to just let this run over the end line. There's no reason he needs to be taking a touch whatsoever, because even if he does bring it down, you've got multiple Independence players that are already headed in your direction. It's just going to go from bad to worse. So to your point, Sam DeVitt, Rasmussen, and Jacob Lissick Need to give him a better call next time and earlier as well.
Corner, Herrera. Lifted up by Tico. And the French Youth International once won the U17 Euros alongside impressive names, Nasri, Benzema. Does that fly out? This guy was playing at the Clairefontaine Academy in France as well, which is, of course, quite well known. The French Bradenton, perhaps?
Easy. John Hackworth will take offense.
Yeah. Johnson swarmed. It's with Hartford here. Select is the official ball supplier of the USL Championship and many of the finest leagues in the world. Since 1947, Select has been the leader in soccer ball quality and innovation. For the latest Select products, special offers, visit selectsportamerica.com. Enzo Martinez comes on. If you haven't seen this guy before, he is an absolute firecracker. And depends which team you're rooting for, whether or not that's a good thing, Devin.
He's someone who's really yet to fully hit the ground running in 2019. Mike already talked about his time with the Colorado Rapids last year. Tim Howard telling us that he's quite surprised that the club didn't keep him, and the way they're performing this year, why not? They could definitely use some help. Just recently promoting their assistant coach. He's been good in spurts. Again, it's easy to keep saying the same thing, but it's so true. There are so many teams in the Eastern Conference right now. Anyone from, to be honest, 10 or 11 all the way down that just show you moments where they can be great, and then they show you these other movements where it's just it's beyond poor. And Charlotte Independence kind of showed us earlier on against the likes of Indy 11, Atlanta United 2, that they would be brilliant for all of 20, 25 minutes. And be great going forward, be great on the defensive side of things. Enzo Martinez has kind of, to be honest, followed suit in the same manner. He'll drift in and out of games. And you have to wonder, from a systematic standpoint, is it what's gone on with Jim McGinnis? He hasn't truly found a positional home, and it's great to have a guy who's versatile, but also he needs to know his identity, as he doesn't have that yet with the Independents this year.
Jones, the Shaka U19. Prior to that, Atlanta United youth product will come on. His agent, the outstanding former U.S. men's national team player, Corey Gibbs.
Corey.
You and I both know
Corey Gibbs. I chased Corey around Germany. Never was able to find him, but he was at St. Pauli when I was with Alton and Anandreisik in Hamburg.
He didn't play with the Enjoy there, did he?
I don't think so.
They can't. Is that the wrong era?
Yeah, that's the wrong era.
Okay, all right. Poor Ian,
he won't
man.
know.
Mansali comes off. The goal scorer all the way back in the 3rd minute.
Getting better from Mansali. But again, when you don't have a boatload of distribution, it makes it difficult.
Let's say this. This was a patchwork back line from the beginning. A forward in his first pro game playing at right back, a holding midfielder at center back in Rasmussen. There's some missing pieces for Hartford right now, and due to this injury, I don't think the card's officially been handed in for Harry Swartz yet, but he is hobbling off with his shin guards in hand. I think that'll be the end of the line for him. Do you go to 3 in the back at this stage? Who's your obvious backup there?
You 100% go to Nikolai Linga. That's the easy move, at least to plug the back line. And there's no reason to necessarily hit the panic button. Again, they'd love to get 3 points, but you better believe Nielsen will take anything he could get, especially with the way that this season has started. And again, neither team really overtaking the run of play here in the second half. Still plenty of opportunity for you to get something going. You bring on Angulo. You don't want to then go the other direction and apply more pressure to the back line. To your point, Mike, that's been makeshift at best, but he does bring on Giuseppe Gentile. Primarily has played in the outside back position. So they are going to shift some things around.
And that's the end for Harry Swartz. I'm not sure that every moment was perfect from him, but if I'm him, I'm pretty proud of my pro debut tonight, all things considered.
Especially the outside back position.
Right.
That was very well done.
That was not the plan.
No. I mean, if you told most of the scouts at the Adidas MLS Combine in January that he was going to be a starting outside back, they would have probably laughed in your face, to be honest. And that's nothing to his ability.
No, but that's not the position he plays.
No, that's not what he's been employed at whatsoever.
But you see that more and more in the modern game. Goalkeepers that use their feet, forwards moving to fullback to take advantage of those flying players up the field. I mean, the world is changing to an extent.
Well, and interestingly enough, that's how I became a center back. Look, I'm no household name, and I get that. We'll change that, but you know, but I grew up. I started, as a youngster, and I was a forward. A kid who was 8, 9, 10 years old, scoring 3, 4, 5 goals a game. Then as you get older, I moved into the midfield. And just by chance, to be honest, when I was 16 years old playing for a U19 team, they had a center back go down. I wanted some playing time. Coach said, hey, I'll give you a look. They weren't very deep, and I was sitting behind 2, 3 guys in the middle of the field. I got put into the center back position, and then just over the course of 3 years, tailored my efforts to getting looks at the D1 level, and that allowed me to progress into the pro ranks. But my ability to read the game, understand what was going on in front of me and behind me, really came from being a great midfield player, not as a great center back.
Enzo Martinez with the strength, and they were going to play advantage there, and Enzo Martinez is wondering why that advantage lapsed. I think he's onto something here. Looks like Hartford's going to push their chips to the middle of the table here. Vucic is set to make his way in. Placing Alex Dixon. Final substitute is Jim McGinnis. First year of a 3-year deal to take over the side. He was coaching a different sport, Jim McGinnis. Celtic gave him a chance. He was very grateful to Celtic for bringing him into association football.
Well, he was brought in at Celtic as more of a psychological side of things. That's what he did his university and schooling as. And he worked with the first team, then got a look in the academy, worked his way up all the way through the 17s, 18s, 19s, had a good run, then went to the Far East. And every team that he's been with, an interesting stat, at the helm, he's always made them finish better in the standings the next year.
Ball across to Vitt, clears. Had Odoro at one post and Herrera at the other, a terrifying thought. So run out to Vucic, and his first touch is a positive one. Oh, with the strength to knock him off. Ultimately getting it away. Gutman facing a different level of strength here. Be sure to tune in Wednesday, May the 8th. ESPN USL Championship Game of the Week. It's on ESPN2. Devin and I will be alongside as the Tampa Bay Rowdies take on Nashville. Both teams that expect to make the playoffs. It's the week's best match on the Game of the Week, May the 8th, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN2. Vucic, Gentile, white latch on. ESPN playing host again to the USL Cup final as it has these last 4 years. Martinez. Herrera. Oh, clever by Lee to first poke it by him and then meet it on the other side. Pushing in Taku, and again Lee. Here comes Angulo. The numbers are decently promising. Dalgard gets shoved out.
No reason for Enzo to overstep his boundaries right here. As Dalgard had played a good ball in around him, but was never going to get to it with the backtracking run of Joel Johnson. Loved what Raymond Lee was able to do on the other side of things. Twice in the span of about 30 seconds, reading the movement of Martinez as well as Jorge Herrera, and not necessarily going shoulder to shoulder, but just shifting his body around a bit. This can be such an angular game at times where you don't need massive speed. If you can just read it well, close down the angles, makes it that much easier.
Gentile. Dalgard. Ball pops loose. Hartford arriving. Martin. Maybe a chance for a rip. It deflects out. Oh, you thought Nicky Downs was going to have a real good look at that. Corner coming, and there's an appeal for a handball.
Nicky Downs had picked this out with the outside of his foot. I love the touch here as the ball makes its way back around. Right there. Great job by Colin Martin to find Nicky Downs. They have a pretty good appeal for the referee not blowing a penalty here. That looked like that came right off the hand of Hugh Roberts. Everybody in this stadium having a cause for concern over the last play. That really did look like it should have been pointed to the spot.
Meanwhile, I think Hartford's got to turn their attention to what's at hand. Corner for Rasmussen. Vucic can't get on it, and Gentile puts it up and over. Anytime you slide, there's the natural versus unnatural arm placement, and there's a lot that goes into it, but the view you and I just had,
that's a penalty.
It sure looked like it.
Definitely looked like it. Getting away with one on the road, so thinking you're lucky stars for sure. However, there's always that term, the ball don't lie, and sometimes karma can make its way back around. Only been a few seconds since then. See how that plays out.
Angulo. Gentile slides in. This will be a goal kick.
Here's a much better look. Great ball in. Colin Martin just outside, opening up his hips. Quick touch by Nicky Downs right in front. Love the first touch outside of the right foot. It's a bit more questionable when you slow it down, isn't it?
He sort of has his body turned around, which I think takes away a lot of the...
unless his hand is way up above him, which wasn't the case.
That's a tough penalty to call, for sure.
And I don't normally say this. However, my apologies to the referee. Great call. Won't happen again, at least not tonight.
Well...
not the great call part, me apologizing.
Right.
Yeah, okay, just want to be clear there.
The entire front three for Hartford have come on as substitutes, and they are sprinting around at present. Taku for Charlotte. Hugh Roberts. 2 goals in the opening 15 minutes. With 5 minutes to play, Charlotte looking for their first road win of the year. Hartford looking for their first point. Downs. Effort from Vucic. Get the ball away. Gentile dropping in. It's Jones. Charlotte aren't pinging it around right now, but the crowd would like to see this change possession, if only for a moment. Well, the whistle blows. That was probably unnecessary from DeVitt, but just trying to rattle this current run of passes.
Again, becomes so frustrating when you are chasing for such a long period of time. That has definitely been the MO of Hartford Athletic here in the second half. And it hasn't been, like you said, Mike, that the Independents have been overwhelming in possession going forward. They just seem to have held the ball. It's a lot of this back and forth, side to side, keep you questioning. Athletic have had answers so far, and that time Sendovit just trying to step out, maybe provide a bit of momentum to go the other way in transition. Fortunately, laid into Jorge Herrera.
We'll see if Lissa gets called into duty here, because Charlotte's got two guys that can strike lightning into those upper corners. That's just off the top of my head. I'm sure I'm underselling others.
Well, they got some big boys that can play up top as well. Tico, Hugh Roberts. Nice little touch-stop hit possibly, shielding the wall.
Ball allowed to Gutman. Ball comes free. Lissa got a piece. There's the whistle. Does not count. Flag is up. This is not the only disqualification that has caused a stir today. But Odoro's goal does not count.
Like the idea on the set piece where they try and play around the ball. Indirects back in the day go with a little touch stop hit. And this time you can just have one, brings it outside. Not going to hit the frame by Gutman, nor on the deflection by Taku. Oduro thought he was in, not the case, 100% offside. And twice in the span of 5 minutes. Great decision, referee. Don't tell my mom.
I promise. Over here on maximum security, buddy.
See what you did there.
Well, the crowd could sense the potential, the possibility of this moment. Charlotte could get another result on the road, and after picking up a point against Tampa Bay last time out, perhaps momentum swinging in the Independence's direction. Rasmussen off of Johnson, corner, Hartford, 90th minute. And if they're to break this 8-game losing streak to start their competitive fixtures, one would think something special could be in the offing here in the next couple of moments.
Just take your time, compose yourself in the dying moments of this game. Great opportunity with everything that you've been through over 8 matches. Set yourself up, get the big boys ready, and just put something in that allows you to go make a play. As you can already see, Curtis Anderson off his line, getting ready to challenge. Remember that.
Ball whipped across. Maybe they'll get another chance to put this in play. Rasmussen, second ball, headed down further by Gutman. And now here come the Independents with pace and forcing their way upfield. Jones, that's well won. And now another foul. This should come with a card. This will go to Jones in his third appearance, the 18-year-old from Georgia.
Zion Jones knew it. Independence should have done better with the run of play. Plenty of room, plenty of men, but a great individual effort by Giuseppe Gentile on the far side to track back and help out. And Zion Jones knew that Hartford Athletics still had numbers left over from their corner opportunity, took him down. Well done.
There are a lot of matches where you see 5 minutes and you think it's a foregone conclusion. The match is already decided. This could go anywhere. Rasmussen toward Vucic. Plenty of green shirts forward here for Hartford. Lee. Towns lost the handle. Oh, that could be devastating. Across Dalgard. Lines into space. Gutman. Lee. Can't let this game get stretched too much if you're Charlotte. Service toward Dalgard. Brought it down. Foul. Joel Johnson. a chronic yellow card accumulator. He spared one here, and another dangerous position for a set piece.
This is a poor decision by the Spaniard to come in on the backside of Dalgard. He was only going one direction. That was backwards to the outside back in Raymond Lee, and he had help behind him in Hugh Roberts, and the trailing run of Enzo coming over to help out defensively, which you don't always hear. He's had to help a bit more.
Rasmussen. That's a well-won header that sends Jones off to the flank. And the white shirts go pouring forward. Jones lost it to DeVitt. One too many touches. The center back pushing a long ball toward Angulo. Comes to Vucic. And the referee blowing the whistle. Looked like Angulo drew his ire. Still 2 more minutes of stoppage.
Both Angulo and Vucic were pushing on Roberts and Joel Johnson. Referee saw it. You have to wonder how much Jim McGinnis is going to allow this game to open up. Because every single time they've gone forward, it's been a good job by Athletic on the defensive side of things to understand the threat, and then they have numbers going the other direction. And you said it, both sides being stretched very thin. Want to be careful, don't want to give up the point that you've worked so hard for. However, still possibly another 2 to be had.
Lee, this will go all the way back to Lissick. They've had time for a touch there. Instead, launches long. Vucic a bit unlucky. Doro tugging at Lee. Under 90 seconds to play. Lifted forward, Maria. Gutman just gets by Herrera. Maybe one more chance here for Hartford, and there's room to pour into. Maria helping to slow it. Angulo shipped forward, and a smart back heel, Taku. Martinez got tugged. If you're Charlotte, how aggressive are you willing to be here on a set piece here from close to midfield?
Very, very much so. It's probably the last opportunity, not just for yourself, but of the game in general. I'm packing the box in, leave 2 stacked right at the center circle, and allow you to go get something.
Martinez, header backward. It's up and over, and that may be it. 8 games against his toughest schedule as one could possibly piece together. All on the road. Well over 10,000 to Rentschler Field. Hartford's inaugural game, they fall behind, they recover. All in the space of a quarter hour. First point for Hartford Athletic at home. Charlotte gets a share of the spoils on the road. It finishes 1-1. Well, if you're Charlotte, you're never going to turn your nose up at a point on the road. If you're Hartford, this must feel priceless. Tonight's Cigna man of the match, to evidence Max Steeves. That all-important goal to level things.
Did very well up top to make sure you get him some well-needed rest after his past 2 shifts that he put in. However, good job. I should say better job. Won't say good job. Better job by the back line of Hartford Athletic. Just a great job to secure a point. Now an opportunity, again, to spring yourself into more with the opponents coming up in the next few weeks.
1 goal apiece, the final. We've got highlights, stats, and the play of the game coming up after this.
always been a soccer city. And now, we have our club.
Where some see a barber, I see a magician.
1-1 between Hartford and Charlotte. Max Eaves, the goal for Hartford to level things. Charlotte scores in the first 5 minutes, but only escape with a point at Rentschler Field as Hartford has their first point. Devin Kerr, Mike Watts, here are your full-time highlights, and let's start where all the action really began for Charlotte. 3rd minute, and Odoro being quite unselfish.
All goes back to that back line, still questioning what it's going to be going forward. Jimmy Nielsen switching it up once again. And questions were asked early on. Unfortunately, no answers given by the home squad. Dom Odoro showing good patience down the line, waiting for Mansali to get his first goal of the 29 campaign. But lovely response by Hartford Athletic. Would have been very easy, as I mentioned, to put their heads down and just wither away. Given all the circumstances that have been up against them in the opening 8 matches, that's not the case. Max Eaves gets the great run in behind Alex Dixon, finds the back of the net early on. They actually carried some momentum, and over the next 10, 15 minutes, had multiple questions to ask of their own of Curtis Anderson, who provided, we'll say, some interesting highlights on the night. Some questionable decisions coming off his line. Never one to shy away from a challenge, however, maybe stay at home a few times more in his upcoming matches. Charlotte Independence would counteract that with a few half chances of their own. Second half wasn't really much by either squad. A lot of just kind of hopes and dreams, if you will. This is the best chance for Hartford Athletic as they try to find the trailing run. Dalgard got involved going forward quite a few times. Really liked his ability to get more involved in the run of play in the second half. This was the questionable one. Was it a handball? Very difficult to tell upon further review. No. Right decision by the referee. And you better believe those managers are happy to escape with a point. Jimmy Nielsen gaining some momentum, finally getting on the board in the Eastern Conference. And Jim McGinnis just continuing their quote-unquote unbeaten streak. 2 positive results on the road.
Yeah, it's a bit ironic when you look at the full-time stats. Charlotte was more high pressing, less possession. They possessed more of the ball. I'm not sure that it was very useful.
Well, here's the biggest thing both of these squads need to figure out. That still wasn't good. It's a good result in the sense of what they've had to go through so far. But you start playing like that against the likes of Charleston Battery, Indy 11, St. Louis FC, they will eat you alive. So they've struggled early on, but you've gained a bit of momentum, a good platform going forward.
Let's take a look at tonight's Stanley Black & Decker innovative play of the game. It's the innovation of the first home goal in Hartford history.
Lovely. Lovely by Max Eaves up top. And we talked about that partnership between he and Dixon. Really liked what Raymond Lee was able to do on the back line. Great ball in as Steven Tico was exposed. Didn't get any backside help from Andrew Gutman. And as it's played in, he sees no one else there. Max Eaves just drips in between the space. Good touch in right behind Curtis Anderson to get the equalizer just moments after they are giving up the early goal. It just shows you the resolve that they've had. Such a frustrating start to the 2019 campaign. But again, Jimmy Nielsen, Alex Dixon, a lot of other players telling us that hope is still to be had, and they feel that they can still get back into playoff contention. Good response by the home squad.
First point. They've got 16 more home games, plenty of time, including next Friday against Memphis 901 FC. First meeting with them, then the U.S. Open Cup away to Loudoun, home against Ottawa. Plenty of points on the line and very much available. Charlotte gets a point. They score in the 3rd minute, but Charlotte responds in the 12th. For our entire team, led by producer Abel Ponte, director Jonathan Tellicher, and Devin Kerr alongside Mike Watts, saying thanks for watching. Hartford 1, Charlotte 1. Have a good night.
Soccer League Championship.